our buddy Erik Prince, he brought up a very interesting point that outraged the left, obviously. But I've been thinking about what he says here more and more, and I'll let you see what he says quickly, and then we'll assess after the fact.
Where is this on?
This is on Erik Prince's channel, Off Leash.
Okay.
And they're replaying it on Sam Satter's show because they're all pissed off. But this is just Erik Prince.
Blackwater founder Erik Prince.
Yes.
All this talk of illegal migration in Europe, in the United States, it ultimately comes down to a contest of what is governance. Which countries are governed well? And if so many of these countries around the world are incapable of governing themselves, then it's time for us to just put the imperial hat back on to say, we're going to govern those countries if you're incapable of governing yourselves, because enough is enough. We're done being invaded.
Because our own national security risk is at stake.
Exactly.
National security interests are at stake.
You can say that about pretty much all of Africa. They're incapable of governing themselves and benefiting their citizens because the governments there are all about looting and pillaging and lining their pockets and going shopping in Paris instead of actually
hold on a second. Hold on. People on the left are going to watch this. They're going to say, wait a minute, Erik Prince is talking about being a colonialist again.
Absolutely. Yes. Enough. Because if you go to these countries and you see how they suffer under absolutely corrupt, made-up governments that are just criminal syndicates.
Made-up governments.
The people of Africa, the people of Latin America, a lot of them deserve better. Now, some countries are really getting it together. Look at what El Salvador did. Bukele, murder capital of Latin America, he said, no more. Now El Salvador is safer than Prince William County.
And he took
Just
all
south
the...
of Washington, D.C.
So, I mean, I never thought of it that way before he brought it up, but I think he makes a reasonable point that what's in the greater good for the most amount of people? Like, is it like now you have gangs running a lot of these countries, which is the argument against libertarianism, is that if you really let people do their thing, then, just the most powerful, potentially corrupt group will be the one that's running things. And, that's why we see all this brutal stuff happening in Africa. Same thing with South America. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think there's an argument that these countries were better off when they were colonialized, as weird as that sounds, or do you think they're better off decolonialized, doing their own thing?
Well, you could look at us and go, maybe we were better as a colonial country or with under British rule.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes.
Because you look at it, you go, man, look how far off this country has fallen.
Yeah.
Would we have been? So I don't know. You can apply that logic to us as well as any other country. Right?
So what's the difference though between, say, America then and these countries? It's obviously a lot of the time like the resources that we have available, right?
Law and order.
What's that?
You want to know the difference?
Constitution, law and order.
That's the difference between Australia and the United States.
Yeah, I mean like America and like Africa, for example, right? But go on.
No, like what I'm saying here is that back to the first topic that we talked, that it makes no sense to have NATO. It makes no sense to go into endless war. $32 trillion makes no sense. The thing that never made sense is that we're exporting democracy, because democracy is something that only you can earn by having a successful society. Like democracy is always earned, and it's internal.
You earn it every single day.
Every
day that you enforce the law.
It is.
And that you train people to follow the law and then themselves push the law on others. Like, what is colonization? Colonization is, first and foremost, the maintenance of another land's laws by another power.
Right.
So it's not necessarily the pillaging of all resources and slavery and abuse of people. All colonization is, in the textbook definition, is a land far away, is deciding the laws and enforcing the laws in that land. So when Prince is saying that they need to be recolonized, what he's saying is that their governance structures are not stable because they don't have constitutions, and they aren't being, if they do have these constitutions, they're just pieces of paper because they're not being enforced.
Yeah.
And all of American history is about how we've tried to apply our Constitution to every single stretch of land that we've come across, where you had the Wild West, which was wild at first, and all those Western movies are about sheriffs going up against the bandits.
Yep.
So you have the outlaws, and they're all badass and they're cool and everything, but ultimately the sheriff has to win because he needs to lay down the law to spread civilization. Because civilization, the basic idea of it is that is fairness. It's not equality, it's fairness. Where if you put in more work you should be rewarded. Someone who steals is cheating the system because they're literally stealing your work, your congealed labor in the form of a possession, and they're taking it for themselves. That goes against the fundamental law of fairness. And so these problems that Erik Prince is talking about is a systematic unfairness happening in corrupt governments where you have literal syndicates, crime syndicates stealing, mass stealing, then there's no economic incentive, and then everything falls apart.
Right, you're not going to go out and take a risk to try and start a business or provide a service if somebody's going to steal from you instantly when you're making money.
And this goes, okay, democracy is the highest form of government. I think every people that have some type of government system, nation state, or like any form of union, I want to be inclusive here, should aspire to have a democracy.
What about constitutional republic?
Yeah. I'd use a different word.
No, but the thing is, the funding of just to start thinking about having a democracy, you need to have a constitutional republic, because what a republic is a bunch of things that are not democratic. You know, like the Constitution is
representative.
The Constitution is not democratic. They're the basic ground rules to protect you from the powerful, and in my humble opinion, like I'm not, you know, like a foreign expert or whatever, I would have exported, you know, like constitutional republics, because constitutional republics will work under democracy. A constitutional republic, like in Dubai, that is a theocratic state. And it works. It can work with a caste system in India. It can work with a tribal order in Nepal.
Yeah.
There's many ways they can organize who's in power at the moment. You know, it can be sent by God. It can be done by democracy. But if you don't have the basis and you don't have that democratic, you know, I mean, if you don't have a republic, it's hard. And no system of electing government will stick or be fair.
Now, it sounds like an insurmountable task to put a strong leader in that's going to get shit together. So, I mean, imagine if the most corrupt, crime-ridden country in the world was able to do that in a short period of time. That's something you might want to look at. So let's listen to what Bukele says here, and you know, why other countries might not be trying to apply the same thing exactly what he applied, since it was so effective.
Really makes me laugh. Do you think that that's one of the reasons that your successes, which are just measurable, I'm not saying this for ideological reasons, but just a fact that you've transformed the country in a good way and that you're literally the most popular elected leader in the world, again, not speculation, provable fact, you'd think that would be greeted in the hemisphere as this amazing thing, like what's going on in El Salvador, and instead there's been this, what's going on in El Salvador?
Yeah.
There's been hostility.
Yes.
Do you think that's why?
I'm not sure, but one of the reasons is that we don't pander to them. So probably they don't like that. It's probably a reason. It's like this. I'm not going to go into conspiracy theory. I'm going to go into provable facts, right? Like you said. So there's worldwide agendas, right? These are provable facts, right? They have benchmarks that they need the countries to follow and they need the countries to do. This is, you know, out there, right? But sometimes if you work on those things, you're probably neglecting the important things for your people, the things that your people are really asking for. Give you an example. When we arrested the gang members that were killing so much people that we were the murder capital of the world, literally the most dangerous place in the whole world, more dangerous than Haiti, right? More dangerous than Iraq. This was literally the most dangerous country in the world. We have triple the amount of the murder rate that Haiti has right now. With all the mayhem that they have, we have triple that here. So what do you have to do? You have to stop that, right? I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, you don't even need to have a big thought process. You have to stop that. That's the first thing you have to do. When we did that, we got huge condemnations. You name it. Say an organization, we got a condemnation from them. So, and a lot of them were human rights organizations. And you would ask, but With the human, what about the human right of a woman not to be raped? I mean, what about the human right of kids to, to play or to be free or to, go to the park? And what about the human right to live, or the human right to walk in the street, right? But no, they were worried about the human rights of the killers. That's good. Which, they have human rights. I don't say they don't. They do.
So yeah, so right there we have the most dangerous country in the world, the most deaths or murders per day in the world. This strong leader comes in, turns into one of the safest places in the world, and somehow condemned by human rights organizations, and covered negatively by the international media. So I mean, I think that highlights pretty clearly that seems to be something weird about the concept of making third world countries a safer place. I mean, so just for fun, this is a map of the least to most violent places in the world. The darker the blue.
Just for fun, the most violent countries in the world. Here you go.
Just for fun.
Yeah,
So the darker the bluer, the more violent the country
yeah,
is.
so you could see Africa and South America.
Chicago should just be blue. On
I know.
the United
It
States
should be a
map.
different
The murder
color.
capital of the U.S., right? Chicago.
So Chile's safer than the United States?
Apparently,
Oh, wow.
from a crime standpoint, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
probably.
because you're here.
Yeah.
You left there.
It's
and it got,
because of 3 cities.
How many people live in Chile? Like 10 people?
What's that
Yeah.
above Australia? Is that Papua New Guinea?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Okay. Yeah, they're pretty wild
right.
over there still.
but look how
Right.
dark blue South Africa is.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Exactly. In Venezuela.
Yeah, that's because there's like mass murders of white farmers by Africans.
Is
there.
that part of the apartheid?
Yeah. Well, they're reversing apartheid right now.
Okay.
So it's basically like retribution just endlessly until there's no more white people left.
It sounds like a genocide.
Well, and from what I've heard, they're going into farmers' homes and slaughtering the entire family in front of the farmer and then killing them later.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a movie.
Yes.
Yes.
But it's real life.
And then, but then
Yes.
in Zimbabwe, there was this case where they ordered all the white farmers to leave the country and get out of here. And then, like 5 years later, there's another headline where he's like, "Wait, actually, please come back. We don't know how to run these farms." So it's
You
kinda
know,
awkward.
I grew up with those people. I literally grew up with I
The
don't know.
killers.
No, with South Africans that had to leave South Africa. Like probably, I don't know, 10, 15 guys in my class, they went through that.
Yeah.
And I'm part of that type of people. People from European descent that went to South Africa, went to Chile, went to Brazil, went to whatever. And this decolonization processes, because we're not wanted in our home countries. Like, because they're going through retributions, they're going through laws that whatever, So you're not wanted there. You're not wanted there at all, and you're also not wanted back in Europe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And thank God for the USA that we have a place where you if you're a decent enough human being, you abide by the law. Until this day, you can actually, succeed.
Yeah.
And listen to what I'm going to say, because Chile has been under the boot of human rights since 1973. Okay, let me paint you a picture. 1973, communist government takes over Chile. We had the same GDP as Haiti. That's how they broke the whole system. And then Augusto Pinochet came in, got rid of all the communists, and took the country from Haiti's GDP to the one of South Korea. Okay,
Wow.
that's the change that he made. And till this day, they're prosecuting people in their 90s. They prosecuted a guy that was 97 and put him in jail. Human rights, and it's gonna sound spicy. Human rights is the second biggest hoax of the left.
Yeah.
Like when you hear human rights,
What's the first?
what's the first? Climate change.
All right. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, because it's the biggest hoax. Because they only care about the rights of criminals. They care the rights about political radicals. They care the rights of terrorists. They only care the rights of their own people.
They're useful idiots.
They're useful at it, and they do it. And they still. It's been 50 years since the whole thing happened in Chile, that it was bound to happen, and they're still making movies about it. They're still complaining about it, and that's what's happening to Nayib Bukele. Like the human rights violations that go on Venezuela right now. There's a really good movie if you want to watch it. It's brand new on Netflix. We watch it together.
Yep.
It's called Simon. Go watch it, and so you understand the level of human rights violations that are happening right now. You can take a plane and be there in 4 hours in Venezuela. Go look at the human rights violations that are happening in China. Go look at the human rights violations that are
Notice
happening
how
in
no one ever brings those up, at least not in like New York Times, but they always go after Russia. Russia's like the one place where they have human rights violations and everyone has to hate them. But then like 90% of the world is violating human rights on a daily basis.
I don't know
and they
if
never
this
say
was
anything about
last
it.
year or the year before. This is a joke, Shane. This is a joke. You see the Human Rights Council at the UN is Saudi Arabia, China,
It's a literal sham.
Nigeria. It's a literal sham. Russia wasn't
Well,
the
the fact
council.
that Bukele's not being celebrated, and people asking him, "What's your secret? What'd you do?" People should be studying him. Like he turned it from worst to first, from safest. Like why? The fact that he's being covered negatively tells you everything you need to know.
This is a no-brainer.
Yeah,
This is a no-brainer.
like they want violence and chaos, I guess.
There's also this clip in that Tucker interview where Tucker's like, this isn't a well-known fact, but MS-13 is actively
Satanists.
satanic.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, they're practicing Satanists.
Oh, wow.
And that blew my mind. I was like, I had no idea about
Yeah.
that. There's like a whole esoteric part of it where not only are they murdering women, children, and, taking over governments and stuff, but they literally worship the devil. Like, can you make this shit up?
And like he said, one of the guys told him that like the beast asked him to sacrifice a child or something. So like, what are they like hearing possessed voices and shit too?
Well, probably because they're snorting coke. all
Yeah,
day.
yeah. I guess that'll do that to you.